What if one of the most terrifying films ever made
It's the power. Holy water.
carried a shadow that followed its cast long after the cameras stopped rolling?
The Swedish actor Max von Sydow has died at the age of 90.
For decades, audiences have whispered about the so-called curse surrounding the film. But beyond the rumors and legends lies a sobering truth. Time eventually caught up with many of its unforgettable actors. Today, we remember the talented performers from The Exorcist who are no longer with us.
Hello, I'm William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist.
He was the maverick director who orchestrated the cinematic nightmare. William Friedkin, a Chicago native who had already won an Oscar for Best Director for The French Connection, was a notoriously intense and demanding filmmaker who pushed his cast and crew to their absolute limits to achieve a terrifying realism. He slapped actors without warning to get genuine reactions of shock, fired a gun on set to startle them, and built a refrigerated set so cold that the actor's breath was real, not a special effect. While he always publicly dismissed the Exorcist curse as crap, he couldn't deny the bizarre and tragic events that plagued his production. A mysterious fire destroyed the entire set, inexplicably leaving the demon-possessed Regan's bedroom completely untouched. Injuries were rampant, and the litany of deaths connected to the film began during its very creation. Married 4 times, including to French actress Jean Moreau and Paramount studio chief Sherry Lansing, Friedkin continued to make bold and challenging films for another 50 years. He passed away from heart failure and pneumonia on August 7, 2023, at the age of 87. He was the face of the exorcism itself, the weary, determined Father Lancaster Marin, arriving in the Georgetown night to confront the ultimate evil. At only 44 years old, Swedish actor Max von Sydow was transformed by hours of makeup into the elderly priest, a performance so convincing that audiences assumed he was decades older. Born Carl Adolf von Sydow in Lund, Sweden, he adopted the name Max from the star performer of a flea circus he saw as a child. His career was staggering in its breadth. A favorite of legendary director Ingmar Bergman, he starred in 11 of his films, including the iconic Seventh Seal. Over a 70-year career spanning more than 150 roles, he played Jesus Christ, the villain Blofeld in a James Bond film, Ming the Merciless in Flash Gordon, and even entered the Star Wars and Game of Thrones universes late in life. He turned down the role of Dr. von Sydow himself, dismissed the idea of an exorcist curse, once stating, "If you don't believe in the devil, you don't believe in curses." He passed away peacefully at his home in Provence, France on March 8, 2020, at the age of 90. As the gruff, inquisitive Lieutenant Kinderman, Lee J. Cobb brought a grounded, world-weary realism to the supernatural chaos of The Exorcist. He was the detective trying to solve a murder that defied all earthly explanation. Born Leo Jacobi in New York City, Cobb was a child prodigy in music who ran away from home at 16 to pursue acting. He became a legend of both stage and screen. He originated the iconic role of Willie Loman in the first-ever Broadway production of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman, a role so powerful that the playwright himself rewrote the character's physical description to match Cobb's imposing frame. On film, he was the furious, holdout juror number 3 in the classic 12 Angry Men, and the corrupt union boss Johnny Friendly, opposite Marlon Brando, in On the Waterfront, earning an Oscar nomination. His life was not without its own turmoil. During the McCarthy era, he was pressured into naming 20 former colleagues before the House Un-American Activities Committee. On February 11, 1976, just 3 years after The Exorcist's release, the 64-year-old Cobb died of a heart attack in Woodland Hills, California. His death is perhaps the most famous and chilling chapter in the legend of the Exorcist curse. Irish actor Jack MacGowran played Burke Dennings, the alcoholic film director who becomes the demon's first on-screen victim, his head twisted completely backward on the infamous Georgetown steps. In a horrifying coincidence, MacGowran himself would not live to see the film's premiere. He was a renowned stage actor, particularly celebrated for his interpretations of the plays of Samuel Beckett, who was so impressed by MacGowran's talent that he wrote the television play A. Joe specifically for him. His film career was equally distinguished, with roles in Dr. Zhivago and Roman Polanski's The Fearless Vampire Killers. Shortly after completing his scenes for The Exorcist, MacGowran traveled to New York to appear in a play. There, he contracted influenza during a citywide epidemic and died from complications on January 30th, 1973, at the age of just 54. The fact that the actor died so soon after his character was brutally killed in the film became a cornerstone of the Exorcist curse narrative. As the troubled Father Damien Karras, Jason Miller was the emotional core of The Exorcist. His performance as the priest wrestling with a crisis of faith while confronting a force of pure evil earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor and Cinematic Immortality. But before Hollywood came calling, Miller was already a celebrated playwright, winning both a Pulitzer Prize for Drama and a Tony Award for his searing play that championship season. His personal life was as dramatic as his work. His first wife was Linda Gleason, the daughter of comedy legend Jackie Gleason, and their son is the actor Jason Patric. Miller's own relationship with The Exorcist was complex and enduring. He reprised his role as the tormented Karras in The Exorcist III in 1990. On May 13, 2001, life imitated art in a tragic way. While at a restaurant in his hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania, rehearsing for a revival of his own prize-winning play, the 62-year-old actor suddenly collapsed and died of a massive heart attack, a shockingly abrupt end for the man who played the priest who sacrificed his life to save Reagan McNeil. He was one of the most formidable and intimidating actors of his generation, a man of volcanic intensity who seemed to channel raw, unbridled power into every role he played. George C. Scott was already a legend for his portrayal of General George S. Patton, a role for which he famously refused to accept the Academy Award, calling the ceremony a meat parade and declaring he did not believe in competition between actors. When he took over the role of Lieutenant Kinderman for 1990's The Exorcist III, replacing the late Lee J. Cobb, Scott brought his signature gravitas to the part of the weary detective hunting a serial killer with a demonic connection. A former U.S. Marine, a skilled and passionate chess player, and a man who was married 5 times, twice to the acclaimed actress Colleen Dewhurst, Scott battled alcoholism for much of his life. On September 22, 1999, at the age of 71, he died at his home in Westlake Village, California, from a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm, a sudden end for an actor of such enduring, ferocious power. By the time he starred as the tormented father Philip Lamont in Exorcist II. The Heretic, Richard Burton was one of the most famous and famously troubled actors in the world. Born Richard Walter Jenkins Jr. in a small Welsh mining village, he rose to become a titan of the stage and screen, a 7-time Oscar nominee known for his thunderous voice and his tempestuous, twice-married relationship with Elizabeth Taylor, a love affair that captivated the entire world. But Burton was also a lifelong, raging alcoholic, a struggle that ravaged his health and his extraordinary talent. He once said he would rather have played rugby for Wales than Hamlet. He took the role in the much-maligned Exorcist sequel largely for the paycheck, and the film was a critical and commercial disaster that did nothing for his fading reputation. On August 5, 1984, at the age of just 58, Burton died at his home in Séligny, Switzerland, from a massive brain hemorrhage. He was buried in a red suit, a nod to his Welsh heritage, with a copy of poems by Dylan Thomas tucked beside him. Two years after winning an Academy Award for her iconic and terrifying role as the monstrous Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Louise Fletcher joined the cast of Exorcist II, The Heretic, playing Dr. Jean Tuskin, a psychiatrist treating a now-teenage Regan McNeil. Fletcher's own life was one of quiet resilience and remarkable personal history. Born in Birmingham, Alabama, both of her parents were deaf, and her first language was American Sign Language. She was taught to speak by a hearing ant. In one of the most moving moments in Oscar history, she famously used sign language to thank her parents during her Academy Awards acceptance speech. She took an 11-year break from acting to raise her 2 sons, a rare and courageous move for an actress at the height of her fame. While Exorcist II was a low point in her career, she found later success, most notably as the cunning and manipulative religious leader Kai Winadami in Star Trek: Deep Space Nine. After surviving 2 separate battles with breast cancer, Fletcher passed away from natural causes at her home in the south of France on September 23, 2022, at the age of 88. His voice is one of the most iconic sounds in cinematic history, the booming, unmistakable authority behind Darth Vader and Mufasa. But in Exorcist II, The Heretic, James Earl Jones appeared on screen as the adult version of Kokumo, a researcher who had survived a demonic possession as a child and now studied the nature of evil. Jones's own childhood was marked by a profound struggle to find his voice. Born in Mississippi, he developed a severe stutter that left him functionally mute for several years, barely speaking from the age of 6 until he was 14. He overcame it with the help of a high school teacher who encouraged him to read poetry aloud. An Army Ranger, a celebrated stage actor with 2 Tony Awards, and the recipient of an honorary Academy Award, his career was monumental. He was even the first celebrity guest to appear on Sesame Street. On September 9th, 2024, at the age of 93, Jones passed away at his home in Pawling, New York. from complications related to type 2 diabetes, bringing to a close one of the most extraordinary careers in the history of American performance.
And I'm the devil. Now kindly undo these straps.
She was the voice of the demon itself. To create the guttural, terrifying sounds of Pazuzu, Oscar-winning actress Mercedes McCambridge subjected herself to a brutal physical regimen. A recovering alcoholic, she broke her sobriety by drinking whiskey and chain-smoking to ravage her vocal cords. She swallowed raw eggs and was bound to a chair to simulate the demon's violent thrashing. Orson Welles had once called her the world's greatest living radio actress, and her performance as Pazuzu proved why.
You killed my mother! You left her alone to die! Shut up! I'll never forgive you!
It was so crucial that the Screen Actors Guild had to intervene to ensure she received a credit after the studio initially left her name off the film entirely, but the darkness of the film seemed to follow her into real life. In 1987, her son, John Markle, murdered his wife and their 2 children before taking his own life. In his suicide note, he reportedly wrote to his mother, "You were the demon." McCambridge, who had won an Academy Award for her debut in All the King's Men, passed away from natural causes in La Jolla, California, in 2004 at the age of 87. The world of The Exorcist terrified audiences for generations, but behind the chilling scenes were talented actors who helped make horror history. Though many of them are gone, their performances continue to haunt movie lovers and inspire new generations of filmmakers. Which of these actors do you remember the most from The Exorcist? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our community for more stories about legendary films and the stars behind them. And if you're fascinated by the darker histories behind classic movies, you won't want to miss the next story we're exploring right here on the channel. Thank you for watching.